Cutting down on school absences and increasing the green in town on this episode of Barnstable Today. It's Monday, July 9th, 2012. I'm Sarah Colvin. The Housing with Love Walk, now in its 20th year, began today in Provincetown. The brainchild of housing advocate Bob Murray began in 1993 as a way to help the Housing Assistance Corporation raise funds to match a housing grant from the state. The now 72-year-old Murray will not be participating in the grueling trek this year. Health problems are keeping him off the trail. He will be there in spirit, though. The walk this year has been dubbed the Bob Murray Housing with Love Walk. Trekkers began at St. Mary's Church in Provincetown this morning. They'll walk for the next 7 days until they reach the other end of the Cape. You can learn more online at walk4hac.org. A program called Keep Them Coming will soon be launched in Barnstable Elementary Schools. Superintendent Dr. Czajkowski says last week she talked about the program with District Attorney Michael O'Keefe.
He had actually reached out to me to set up a time for us to sit down, introduce ourselves to one another. And so I had a great opportunity to talk with him and his staff about a program that they're working, or they actually have had in place over at Dennis Yarmouth, and it's called Keep Them Coming. And it's a program that really looks to reduce absenteeism and tardiness in our schools. And, you know, as I was meeting with principals at the end of the year talking about absences, looking at some data, you know, realizing that some of our students, you know, are high with respect to absences, anywhere sometimes 20, 30 absences a year, tardies as well. And I certainly think that you know, impacts their learning in the classroom and their inability to you know, achieve their potential if they're not in school. So this Keep Them Coming program is a series of steps that we're trying to communicate with parents with respect to getting their children to school. That's a parent's responsibility to ensure that they do come to school. And so the fourth step or so, after we've made a series of calls home and communications home, we're going to do a joint letter between myself, the school, and the district attorney, really sort of setting out the tone that it's really important for parents to get involved in ensuring students, their child, are coming to school. And if not, we would file what's called a pre-CHIN. CHINS, C-H-I-N-S, stands for Child in Need of Services. And sometimes, you know, with working with the DA's office, working with the courts, we can provide the necessary resources as well as support to get, you know, students to come to school.
Dr. Czajkowski is hoping to begin the program in certain schools this fall.
We're targeting certainly specific schools that in I'm meeting with all the principals, and they have a format that they, you know, currently use, but you know, sometimes it's not working. If we're having students that have, you know, anywhere from anything beyond 15 absences, you really start to be concerned. And I think that you send that message early on, and you're absolutely right. I mean, by the time they get to intermediate school, high school, you know, there's an ownership of responsibility that shifted from the parent to the student. And I think, you know, at the early elementary grades, you know, if students, you know, in first, second, third, fourth grade are not coming to school consistently, chronically absent, you know, there's usually a problem at home. There's usually a lack of communication, a lack of resources. Maybe the parent is struggling. Maybe there's a family situation. And this is an opportunity for us to really sort of provide some resources and support if parents are struggling with getting their kids to school. So we want to start early on, you know, the importance of coming to school. You can't learn if you're not there.
As the superintendent says, chronic absences, especially with younger students, could mean bigger problems at home. This program is designed to help parents deal with issues they may have in getting those younger students to school. This week, the Cape and Vineyard Electric Cooperative will make a presentation to Town Council regarding 5 planned solar installations in Barnstable. Energy Coordinator Richard Elrick says round 1, which included the large project at the transfer station, has already been approved.
This next one is a larger effort, both for Barnstable and for all of the CVEC member towns. And this time around, we've got 5 separate locations that we're working on. A couple of rooftop locations and several ground-mounted as well. The Barnstable High School is due to have a approximate 462 kilowatt system installed. They already have about 130 kilowatts of solar, rooftop solar mounted on the high school. So this will be a substantial increase. The other rooftop-mounted location is at the Barnstable West Villages Elementary School. That's a smaller system of approximately 62 kilowatts. And then we have some ground-mounted systems. One at the Senior Center, which is approximately 140 kW. That'll be located essentially between Route 28 and the Senior Center itself. And we made a presentation recently to the Senior Center, and while there have to be a few trees cleared for that site to go in, actually many of the folks on the advisory board, or the Council on Aging's advisory board, were pleased about that because they're hoping that the Senior Center will be more visible from Route 28. So that's one of the ground-mounted systems. And then we also have a very large one planned for an area in Independence Park of approximately 3.33 megawatts. So that's a very large one. And then at the airport, adjacent to two of the airport runways, one approximate 20-acre parcel is going to have a 5.2 megawatt system. And then the other airport location adjacent to one of the other runways will have a 2.3 kilowatt system installed. So we are talking about a lot of green energy, many hundreds of thousands of dollars of annual cost savings for both the town and the airport, as well as a lot of green electricity and a lot of reduction in our greenhouse gas emissions. So we're very excited about it.
Elrick says the projects do slightly differ from one another, mainly in how that energy will be used.
One for the Senior Center will be what's called entirely behind the meter. So the electricity will go from the solar array directly into the school's electrical panel, essentially reducing the electricity needs of the Senior Center directly. So that will, as I say, go to defray the energy use at the Senior Center. Same with the West Villages Elementary School and the high school. Those are behind-the-meter systems. So they will essentially directly be benefiting those locations. The larger projects are designed to go into the grid, and for those systems there will be a net metering credit. Now, one of the interesting and more complicated things about this is that the town is limited to approximately 10 megawatts of capacity to take advantage of the so-called net metering credit benefit. In other words, you can only have up to total of 10 megawatts of green energy production to fully realize all of those net metering credits. And we're approaching that 10 megawatt cap after the wastewater pollution control center's installation that was certainly well publicized recently, and then after our cap landfill and these other projects, we'll be close to that 10 megawatt cap. And so what that means is that with the airport's array installed, we would be over that 10 megawatt cap. So as a result of our relationship and our membership in CVEC, we're able to make that land available to other towns, that airport land, that airport project, so that they can use their net metering cap. So, for example, a town like Provincetown, very, sort of land poor, but they have that 10 megawatt net metering cap, so they can essentially lease the land at the airport and still receive some benefit. So the way that part of the whole project will work is that the airport will receive 50% of the energy production, and the other towns of CVEC will receive the other 50% of that production. So while the airport won't get 100% of the benefit, as will the town of Barnstable for its projects, it will still receive a substantial amount of income as a result of that installation. And other towns who are members of CVEC will get 50% as well. So it's sort of a win-win for everybody.
Town Council meets this Thursday night at 7 p.m. Also on the agenda for Thursday's meeting, Town Council will again consider a new electronic sign for the Hyannis Youth and Community Center that's being paid for in part by Fagawi Charities. With Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Colvin.